A moment that didn't look important, but was. It began in a small, ordinary flat where nothing ever felt dramatic enough to become a story. The kind of place where mornings arrived too early and evenings disappeared without asking permission. She used to think her life would always feel like that, slightly unfinished, like a sketch that someone had forgotten to ink. She was a university student at the time, studying art, although she rarely called herself an artist. That word felt too confident, too final. She preferred to say she was still learning, still trying to understand how shapes, colors, and emotions could exist on the same page without arguing with each other. Alongside her studies, she worked part-time as an art teacher. Not in a grand or formal way, nothing like the strict images people sometimes imagine. It was simply her, a small group of young learners, and the quiet pressure of trying to explain creativity without killing it in the process. Most days, she woke up already thinking about time. Not in a philosophical way, but in a very practical one. Whether she had enough of it, whether she had wasted too much of it the day before, whether she would ever feel like she was in control of it instead of chasing it. Her work was not close to home. The journey always felt longer than it should have been, as if the distance itself had opinions about her choices. On those mornings, she would stand by the window for a moment, holding a simple routine in her head like a reminder. Today again. Just keep going. Her father usually handled shopping for the household. It was something he did quietly, without making it into a task worth discussing. He would come back with small details about prices, choices, and things that were running low. Life in that house was practical like that. No drama, just lists and routines, and people trying their best in their own ways. Sometimes she wondered if all families were like this. Not perfect, not chaotic, just continuous. Like a story that never properly ended, only paused and resumed depending on who was paying attention. On rare evenings when she had time, she would meet friends to watch films. She preferred stories that felt emotional rather than frightening. Anything too intense or dark stayed with her longer than she liked. She didn't want fear following her into ordinary days. She already had enough thoughts competing for space in her mind. Romantic films, though, were different. Not because they were simple, but because they allowed feelings to exist without explanation. She liked that idea. Not everything had to be justified. Some things could simply be felt and left alone. Still, despite all these small routines, there was always a sense that something was building underneath everything. Not excitement exactly, more like pressure that hadn't yet decided what shape it wanted to become. The most important day of her life arrived without announcing itself. It was her graduation day. She remembered waking up with a strange calmness, the kind that doesn't belong to nerves or confidence, but somewhere in between. Her mind kept replaying the same thought, "This is supposed to matter." She dressed carefully, not because she wanted to impress anyone, but because she felt that certain moments deserve respect, even if they are only understood later. Her mother came with her. That fact alone made the day feel different. Not bigger, not louder, just steadier. As if her life had brought along a witness who understood everything without needing it explained. The ceremony hall was filled with movement and soft echoes of conversations. People smiling too widely, families adjusting themselves into photographs, students pretending not to feel overwhelmed while clearly feeling everything at once. She sat there, thinking about all the versions of herself that had existed before this moment. The younger one who struggled with confidence. The one who almost gave up more than once. The one who kept going without fully knowing why. Then her name was called. For a second, it didn't feel real. Names in places like that sound like they belong to someone else. But then she stood up, and reality caught up with her footsteps. Walking forward felt strangely quiet. Not emotional in a dramatic sense, but deeply focused, like the world had narrowed into a single path that only existed for a few seconds. When she received her degree, her mother was watching from the audience. Not loudly, not dramatically, just present in a way that said everything without needing words. That moment did not feel like the end of anything. It felt like the beginning of something she couldn't yet name. Afterwards, when everything had settled and the day had started to soften into memory, she realized something important. Success was not a single event. It was a collection of small decisions that had finally stopped arguing with each other. And for the first time, she allowed herself to think that maybe she was capable of building a life that actually felt like her own. But life, of course, never stays simple for long. Because after moments like that, the question always arrives quietly, almost politely, but with weight. What now?